Marc Lamont Hill is a Fox News contributor and assistant professor at Temple University. Kellyanne Conway is a Republican pollster and the president of the and CEO of the polling company. And Jay Thomas is the host of Sirius satellite radio show, The Jay Thomas Show. Hey, Marc, let me ask you this. You know, this is the interesting talk about all of this, and it is whether or not the need for Jesse Jackson exists anymore today in terms of what has been his mantra of, you know, victimization and sort of the need to overcome it as the main priority.
Yeah, well, first, I would challenge the idea that Jesse Jackson's message has been victimization. He's always wedded a message of individual responsibility to a message of structural critique, and I think he's always going to do that. I think.
Yeah, but hold on. So how come when Barack Obama, you know, says fathers need to be responsible, Jesse Jackson coins that and says, well, he's talking down to black people? That doesn't add up.
Well, because there's a concern that he was at that moment pandering to white voters rather than offering a balanced message of critique. You can tell people to be responsible, but you also have to talk about some of the structural factors that impede that type of responsibility. That's what he was going for, and I think that as long as he's doing that, we'd be found.
I mean, let's put up what his son had to say. There's a million examples out there, quotes today, that would indicate to some that there is a sea change happening here, and this is his own son. He says his divisive and demeaning comments about the presumptive Democratic nominee, and they're over each other there, and I believe the next president of the United States contradict his inspiring and courageous career. Kellyanne, he's saying, you know, he's undercut everything that was good that he worked for with these statements.
Well, and Jesse Jackson Jr. is obviously the son of Jesse Jackson, but he's also the generation of Barack Obama. He's been one of his national co-chairs for quite a while, and I actually thought it was a properly measured, but it had to be very personally painful statement to actually have to put. Look, Martha, in any sort of generational transition, it's very difficult for the old guard to have to pass down the baton. And I know Jesse Jackson had previously said that Barack Obama is basically running the last lap of a 54-year struggle, and some people have taken that negatively, like, oh, he only showed up at the last lap. He hasn't even broken a sweat. And some people are saying, wow, the culmination at last.
Right, he's the beneficiary of all of those laps that came before.
I think the charitable way of looking at it is the latter way, of saying that, as Barack Obama himself has said, listen, I'm not running as a black man. I am a black man who's running for president. I think that's a miscalculation the Clinton people made from the beginning. They thought she was running as the first female president. He's running as the first African American.
And maybe we're beyond all that. Maybe that's the good news about all of this. Jay, what do you think? You know, is the era of Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and the need for that kind of leadership, is it over?
Well, I don't think that Reverend Jackson and Barack are going to go to Benihana together.
You don't?
No.
Might be a dangerous choice of restaurant.
What is wrong with him saying what he said and Barack saying, well, that's not how I feel? And I think that Jesse Jr., who I would spank until he couldn't be spanked anymore for saying, I think Jesse Jr. threw his daddy way under the bus. And I just think that it's a guy talking, and look, I say horrible stuff when this mic is on in that room. If I was
really, all the time, Jay.
That's what I'm saying. I hope you don't put any of the horrible things that I said about these two prior to coming out here. So I think that when you're talking privately, you say all kind of stuff, and then you go diplomatic on the air. Is it true that when we heard Dick Cheney curse, or when we heard Bill Clinton say horrible stuff, aren't we hearing these people for the first time being glib and being truthful? And what's wrong with that?
I think there's a lot of truth in these comments.
And nuts, he said nuts, and they're acting like he said some horrible curse word.
He was going to cut him off, Jay.
Oh, please.
No, it wasn't great.
I say that to my kids all the time.
It's an off-the-record comment. He supports Barack Obama. I know.
Prime time tonight.